Sunday, I went up to Flint to hang out with my friend.
Okay.
Because I shouldn't say any more than that actually, but I was in Flint. I was in the area.
Sure.
Him and I were hanging out. And while I still haven't interacted much with the people to give credence to your opinions,
Right.
I was, while I was driving around, noticing like an overabundance of litter on the ground and in yards and on sidewalks, like a ridiculous amount of trash that theoretically speaking should be in the gutter.
Right.
That was just everywhere.
Just everywhere.
And I was sitting there like, maybe Mike's on to something.
Okay.
Did you know that they have a slur for one another? Or slang to refer to other people from Flint? I learned about this from my friend. He told me about this.
I may have heard it at some point. Because I grew up reasonably close to Flint, like maybe a half hour away or so, but not off the top of my head. I can't think of anything.
I'm not sure if this is used specifically by like other people referring to people living in Flint, or if it's used by Flint people referring to other Flint people, because especially like there's a pretty big school right in Flint. So it might only be like those people who are coming from outside using it, but they call them toids, like Flintoids.
I have not heard that.
My friend was explaining to me, he's like, oh, seeing a random person just walking in the middle of the street late at night, that's a total toid thing to do.
Nice. It sounds about like pretty similar to you see a lot of walking in the middle of the street at night.
I mean, there's just a whole lot of fun things going on. And remember that guy we used to work with used to live in like a crack house, and
yes,
the owner was like a crack dealer who would intentionally seek out crack addicts to live in the house, get them addicted to crack until they couldn't afford rent anymore, and then evict them without giving them back their deposit.
Yep.
Like, that's so shitty.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you have.
Oh,
oof.
God, what episode are we on right now? Number 8?
I believe this is 8.
Breakroom Nachos episode 8. What's going on, everybody? How's your day going? Leave a comment with what you ate for lunch today. If you haven't eaten lunch yet, go find some lunch.
Yeah, well, depending on what time you're...
No.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 a.m. Go grab a Sammy, baby. Little Sammy and some chalky milky. I don't know.
Ooh. What kind of Sammy?
You asked me that right as I was putting water in my mouth.
Yeah, my bad.
I don't know. Lunch sandwiches, I usually default to like a nice peanut butter Nutella sandwich.
Oh.
Or I'll also do like a ham and turkey with cheese, toast that motherfucker.
Oh,
that's really good.
That sounds like a good one.
That's really good. That's probably the one that I have the most.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big turkey sandwich fan.
Turkey's great on a sandwich. I'm not a big fan of turkey on its own because unless we're doing it sous vide, it usually ends up pretty dry.
It does.
But if you get some turkey lunch meat, that's like, it's the perfect like kind of neutral flavor for a sandwich, I feel like.
Yeah. It's got enough flavor that you actually know you're eating something, but
not so much that it overpowers whatever other things you have in the sandwich.
Exactly.
That's a good meat right there.
Yeah. Turkey's a solid meat. Turkey lunch meat approved by Breakroom Nachos.
Oscar Mayer, you want to come sponsor us? We're begging for sponsors out here.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Mike. I got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear your bone.
At the end,
Mack, just give me your bone.
At the very end of the last episode, we got into a bit of a disagreement.
We did.
And we didn't have time to properly discuss it because it was the end of the episode.
Right.
And I was desperately trying to end the episode so you would get out of my house, which is usually how the end of the episode goes.
Right.
Because I was listening back on it too.
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing.
And like I said to Mike after we finished recording, and he agreed with me that this is the biggest thing we have ever disagreed on. Like,
Yeah.
in almost 5 years of knowing each other, like this is the biggest thing we've ever disagreed on.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the episode, and when I was editing it, and I was like, I was desperately trying to find, I feel like there has to be a disconnect in like what one of us is saying to the other, where we're just not connecting, because the things you were saying were so absurd to me.
Okay.
So for anyone who did not catch the last episode, I was talking about how I think I have some what's the word, contrarian opinions on certain movies, such as Pulp Fiction, where I feel that it is a boring movie and is therefore not a good movie. And you said that just because a movie is boring doesn't mean that it is not a good movie.
Correct.
Which I completely disagree with.
You're still in that camp?
100%.
Okay.
The more I've thought about it.
Okay, that's fair.
And I do have examples too. I know you had talked about watching a movie to bring up examples. I already have like the perfect example in my mind, but I do want to hear like, I feel like I'm just missing something. There has to be some disconnect here because it makes no sense to me. Like, what do you mean by a good movie?
Okay, well, I know you said that just because the popular opinion is that a movie may be good doesn't necessarily make it good.
Right.
And I completely agree with you on that.
Okay.
So we're good there.
That was one thing I was worried about. I was like, I was going to bring up like if someone made a movie about paint drying on a wall and everyone said it was great and you didn't like it, you would still have to agree that it's good. But I'm glad we're not there.
I think part of my opinion stems kind of a little bit from maybe more of a like the technical aspect.
Okay, so I thought you may have meant that, and that makes sense to me to an extent.
That is definitely part of it.
And that comes along with my example, but continue what you're saying.
And then also at the same time, it's sort of a double-edged sword. Like, let's say you have, it doesn't matter what the movie is. Let's say you have 1 million people watch that movie and 999,999 people love it and think it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
That one person finds it boring. It doesn't make it not a good movie. It doesn't make it a bad movie because 1 out of 1 million people think it's boring.
Well, no, but to that person, in their own opinion, it is a bad movie. That's the thing that I'm getting hung up on. Like that still definitely sounds like a popular opinion kind of thing. Like the Marvel movies are a great example. Like those things are wildly popular, have done in absurd amounts in terms of ticket sales and, you know, merchandising, whatever. Like clearly,
right,
they're well regarded as like being good to some extent, but there are people out there who don't like them, who think they're lazy, who think like the action isn't interesting, who think the plot is predictable, and those are all valid standings. And like, if you want to say that you hate those movies and you don't think they're good movies, I think that's fair, even though I disagree.
I mean, I would fall into that.
Right, you would fall
category.
into the camp of someone who's not a fan of the Marvel movies.
But also at the same time, financial success and ticket sales don't necessarily translate to a movie being good.
No, they definitely don't.
So those movies are wildly successful, but just because they make a lot of money doesn't mean it's a good movie.
Even though a lot of other people do think they are, you still don't think that makes it a good movie.
Correct.
So I agree with you there. Where is the disconnect happening here?
I don't know, man.
Okay, let me bring in my example.
Yeah,
here.
bring up your example.
I want to talk about 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay, actually, I'm glad you brought this up. I have not seen that movie.
Okay, I believe I talked to you about this a while ago.
And so, Mack, you know I own a lot of movies.
Right.
A lot of which I've never even seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, okay, maybe at some point I'll want to watch this, or this is a classic film. I need to have it. Yeah, I need to have it. So I was kind of going through the IMDb like top 250 all-time movie list.
Okay.
And 2001 was on there.
It's not surprising.
And in my head I thought, I know that is very highly regarded, but it seems like it would be super boring. But I don't own that one.
So that's the thing too, and like that was a big part of why I watched it. Like, number one, I'm a big fan of space related media, as we've talked about, like with my opinions on video games last time.
Yeah.
I love space. I think space is a super interesting subject. And I had heard really good things about this movie nonstop for years. People love this movie.
Absolutely.
So I watched it a couple months ago with my friend Sean. We do movie Sundays when he's not at school.
Okay.
And we watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and we both went into it. Like, this wasn't like confirmation bias. We didn't go into it expecting not to like it. We both went into it expecting to like it. And we both ended up deciding that we did not like it.
Okay.
Here's the thing about 2001: A Space Odyssey. It tells an interesting story. It is very well made. The shots in it are incredible. The shots are like, in a technical standpoint, like audio, music, camera technology, even like, this movie was made in the 60s, and you look like the spaceships and stuff. They don't look like they've aged at all. Like, this is still like the benchmark for what space looks like, kind of, to our minds.
Right. I've not seen the movie, but I've seen clips, and I know what it looks like.
Yeah. So tells a great story, extremely well made. Message is interesting, and like there's this entire beginning sequence. It's a solid like 20 minutes long, maybe more.
Yeah.
Where it just focuses on like monkeys on Earth.
Okay.
And you slowly go through their path of evolution, and there's not a single piece of dialogue throughout the entire thing. There's no narrator. It is a complete and utter like visual storytelling. It is the epitome of what a film is supposed to be.
Okay.
But every single shot in that movie lingers for way too long. That movie is about 3 hours long. And there are so many shots of like the spaceship and like a guy floating across space over to the spaceship, just lingering for 30, 40 seconds, which doesn't sound long, but in the realm of movies, like a 10-second shot is a long shot.
Yeah.
And that's every part of the movie. Every part of the movie lingers for way too long. So super well made, really interesting story, tells an interesting message, utilizes the media of film in a very intelligent way. But it is so goddamn boring. And so I can't call it a good movie because it doesn't tick that last final box of keeping my interest the entire time.
See, I think based on everything you said up until you thinking it was boring makes it a good movie.
I think that there is a checklist of things that a movie has to meet, and one of the key ingredients is keeping your interest and keeping you entertained, because it's entertainment. Entertainment is meant to, keep you engaged. It's meant to, fill in the dead air. So if it fails to do that, then it fails as a piece of entertainment media. That is a tenet of movies in my mind. I will agree with anybody who says that the story is interesting, that it is an extremely well-made movie, that it is a benchmark for what a film should be, but it is just too goddamn boring to be a good movie.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I feel like you could do the same. You could, let's say we're talking about food. You could do that with some great dish you had at a restaurant that you just don't care for, but it is just a very good like dish or recipe. Maybe you don't care for it because there's some ingredient you don't like in it, but that doesn't mean that it's not like a good restaurant or a good meal.
It might be a well-made restaurant or a well-made meal and a very good restaurant, but if I don't enjoy it, then it's not a good meal to me.
It's the to me thing that I think is also throwing me.
But like that's the thing though. I don't base any of my own opinions on anybody else's opinions. I don't ever try to let like popular opinion sway me. I try to form my own view of anything that I consume, and so that's not a factor of it for me. I don't care if anybody else thinks 2001: A Space Odyssey is a masterpiece film. I don't think it's a good movie.
Okay, so in going through and trying to find a movie that I wanted to watch, I was particularly looking for something that is widely regarded as being good, and also something that I thought would probably be boring that I owned. I'd never seen this movie, and I don't know if this helps or hurts my case, but I ended up falling asleep watching it.
Okay.
But I was also really tired, so that isn't completely the fault of the movie. But I decided to watch Citizen Kane.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
It's thought of by a lot of people to be possibly the greatest film of all time.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, it's been talked about nonstop in all the film classes I've taken.
Yeah. Cinematography was great. Especially for the time, like visually, it looked good for whatever year it came out. I don't remember. I didn't look that part up. The story was good. It was interesting, but kind of boring. But again, I didn't actually get to the end, so maybe as a whole, it'll change. But
I don't know. See, because I don't feel like the end can make up for the length of it. Like if it can't keep your interest throughout the bulk of the movie, then it didn't keep your interest.
Well, I mean, I feel like maybe if you get to the end and the ending is fantastic, you're like, wow, that was totally worth it. I
just can't agree with that. Maybe on subsequent viewings, your opinion can shift. Like maybe in seeing the ending, you realize that a lot of things that you looked over in the beginning were actually super interesting and super meaningful or whatever. And in subsequent viewings, it becomes more interesting. Shin Godzilla was like that for me. When I first watched Shin Godzilla, I thought it was pretty boring. But I did the research, which I talk about in my massively popular video that, by the way, I hit 1,000 subscribers. Just going to congratulate me, please.
Well, congratulations, Mack.
Thank you. But that movie, you have to go into it with a lot of knowledge about like kind of the Japanese government system, because there's a lot of scenes where they have like people within the government just talking to each other.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is that the movie was trying to push a message that the Japanese government was not prepared for natural disasters and was too like bogged down to do anything about natural disasters. Shin Godzilla being a personification of a natural disaster. So in subsequent viewings, I have come to see that movie as being fantastic because all of these scenes do an amazingly effective job of showing how unable to do anything they are because their government system is bad. So, I can agree that perhaps subsequent viewings could change your view based on the nature of the movie, showing you that like whatever previous scenes were actually important and were actually interesting in their own right. But I still don't agree that like the ending can save it. Like the rest of the movie would still have to like involve that ending to keep it interesting.
Yeah, I guess I get the thing you're saying about subsequent viewings, but I think on some level, and this is probably more the technical aspect of a film, but I don't think a movie really, I don't think can go from being bad to good or vice versa. It's one or the other.
I would have to disagree with that. I think sometimes a certain movie or even like certain music or even books, like sometimes they require a few viewings to fully understand. And that understanding can lead to a greater appreciation of it. And like, certainly I would agree that it's a bit of a failure on the filmmaker's part to not make it interesting enough in the first watching for you to see it as good the first time around. But, I think that subsequent viewings can change your view on it to make a bad movie into a good movie.
I guess I can agree with that a little bit. Just, maybe you don't catch something or, there's messaging in the movie that you didn't pick up on, and then you maybe hear or read something that explains why something was the way it was, and then it makes sense to you and completely changes your view on it. So I can kind of see that.
Yeah, that would be my view on that. I would still agree that like it is a failure, but not as much as just being a boring movie.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens when I finish Citizen Kane, because so far I'm in the camp of, I would say it is a good movie, but so far it has been fairly boring.
I can't agree with that mindset. I think being entertaining is one of the tenets of a movie. It has to be entertaining to be good.
I guess we agree to disagree.
God damn, I really was hoping there was a disconnect here. I don't know how you can have that opinion.
I definitely think that a lot of my opinion does steer towards the technical aspect of it.
I try definitely not to let that kind of thing affect my opinion. And this is coming from the perspective of a video gamer.
Okay.
Because for years now, for years and years and years, and it will not stop, and I don't understand how people keep falling for it, game developers throw flashy, amazing looking trailers at you, and then their game is a buggy pile of shit. Or it's just a bad game in general. And like, I don't know how they keep getting away from it, like away with it. Like all of the big games of every year, they all have flashy cinematic, like CGI trailers where they don't show a lick of gameplay and people lose their fucking minds. And then the game comes out and it's boring and it sucks. And it's like, you fucking sheeple out there are really falling for this. So for me, like no amount of amazing cinematography can fix a boring movie if the movie is boring. You know, and it goes the same for games. You know, it doesn't matter how beautiful the cutscenes are. It doesn't matter how many frames I can get while playing it or how beautiful the ray tracing is to make the lighting look amazing. If the game sucks, the game sucks.
I think this is a good point to transition into another topic that I was going to bring up today. We've already been on the topic of movies.
Yep.
And you just brought up Sheeple.
Okay.
And we've previously talked about, you know, conspiracy theories and things like flat earthers and, you know, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
There is someone that I am very loosely acquainted with. And we are friends on Facebook. And they posted something recently
that a little bit concerning.
It was very concerning. Yeah, I really don't understand how this is a thing. I've never heard anyone else bring this up. They actually didn't use sheep or sheeple in this one, but this person frequently does use that terminology. So it is a movie poster for the movie Titanic.
Okay.
They added text that said, "You might be a normie if," and then on the movie poster it says, "You probably think this had something to do with an iceberg." And then it says, "Who died on the Titanic? Anyone who was against the Federal Reserve."
What?
So apparently there's at least a small group of people who think that the Titanic did not hit an iceberg or
oh my God,
or possibly did, but on purpose in order to kill people who were against the Federal Reserve.
Where do people come up with this stuff?
I don't know. And okay, we all know Wikipedia is not
a reliable source.
Is not a reliable source. But that being said, I looked on Wikipedia just to see if there was like any other mention of this or any conspiracy theories.
Nothing.
I didn't see anything, which I think really gives a major blow to this.
Well, I mean, especially because like Wikipedia, you can link sources, and for bigger things like the fucking Titanic, one of the big highest grossing movies in the world,
right?
That Wikipedia page has to be pretty policed, so that's got to be accurate.
Yeah.
That's absurd. I'd never heard that one.
Yeah, so apparently, you know, sinking an entire ship was just all planned out. Oh, people.
You know, in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos wiped out half the universe's population, but that was actually a message about people who are against population control.
Well, okay. To be clear, this person is talking about the actual boat sinking.
I know.
Not the movie. Just wanted to make sure we were clear about that.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's some real goofy shit right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I one of my coworkers I was talking to recently made a good point that kind of the whole pandemic situation
Mm-hmm.
has kind of forced the morons of the world to come out of hiding.
Oh yeah,
Because like all of a sudden, like everybody knows, like everybody knows, like who all their friends are like, okay, this person's smart and wearing a mask. This person's a moron. I'm no longer going to associate with them.
I also left out a very key point in this whole Titanic conspiracy.
They an anti-masker.
Oh, they are absolutely an anti-masker, but I figured you would.
Yeah, I figured.
You assume that. This person is somehow allowed to educate our youth.
Oh no!
This is a school teacher.
Oh
yeah.
There should really be screenings for people like that.
Absolutely. I don't know how those people are allowed to educate children.
Oh man,
that's what's wrong with our education system.
Oh my gosh. I love when I see like there's been a lot of this over, especially with like Zoom being a thing, because parents can like overhear what their kids are learning in school. Like there's been a lot of videos getting posted of like parents on Zoom yelling at teachers for teaching certain subjects.
Yeah.
Even though it's like dictated by the state or whatever.
Right.
And like one of my favorites is when people get mad at teachers for teaching about evolution. Which is like still to this day in modern education, they teach evolution as a theory because there's no way for us to definitively prove it. But even so, like the idea that there are still people out there who don't believe in evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm with you. That just seems mind-boggling, but
I love like seeing shit posts on the internet, like someone posting like, if the earth is really older than 6,000 years old, prove it. And then someone leaves like a detailed description of like radioactive element half-lives and how it definitively proves that the earth is at least several million years old.
Excellent. Oh, that is great.
Oh man. Dummies do be dumb though.
Dummies be dumb. I got a snap from Mike earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a picture of
his dick.
Sure. No, it was a picture of him holding a pigeon.
Are you sure the pigeon wasn't actually his penis and you just blocked it out?
Okay, yes, it was. Yes, it was his penis. No, he apparently he like somehow managed to catch a pigeon today.
Just like snatched it.
I guess I didn't get the full details. But that brings me to my question. Mack, would you eat a pigeon?
I don't think I would. They're basically flying rats.
Apparently, I've heard they're actually very delicious. I
would. I mean, I'd try anything once.
Okay.
You know, if someone told me this for sure will not get you sick, then yeah, let's go for it.
Would that still hold true if the picture was Mike's penis?
You know what, Mike? I like you, but I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
All right. You know. Oh, sorry, Mike. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. He sent me that, and I remembered seeing something. I think it was on like Travel Channel about like people who would forage for food in like big cities, like eating wild mushrooms and things. And there was a guy in New York that would just chuck rocks at pigeons, and it showed him like going home and cooking one, and it looked freaking fantastic.
Well, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
You gotta do somehow. Human race has to, survive.
Yeah, I Googled pigeon recipes, and apparently it's a thing.
Where would one buy pigeon meat?
I would assume you probably have to hunt the pigeon yourself.
That's less fun.
But the first article that I looked up with the recipe said that they are a non-native invasive species that don't have any real protection in the U.S. outside of, I think it said the Northeast. They're considered a songbird, but everywhere else they're like fair game to just do whatever you want to.
That's not too shocking. I mean, they're like a real problem in some areas. There's just so many of them.
Yeah. Maybe we need to start looking at pigeon as a new food source.
Maybe. We already got, food problems in the world. Let's just use the resources that are available to us.
Right, exactly. You don't have to go plant-based, just eat pigeon. I would opt more for a pigeon-based diet
than a plant-based diet. Oh man.
Ugh, good stuff. I have one more movie topic that it completely just left my mind until I just looked at my phone for just a second here. Are you familiar with Lifetime movies at all?
Yes.
Okay, they're always like really cheesy, usually some sort of like love story kind of thing
or family story, yeah.
Yep. Are you familiar with the actor Mario Lopez?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I know this is well before your time, but the show Saved by the Bell?
Yeah.
Right. You're at least familiar with.
I've seen the show. They would rerun it when I was a kid.
Okay, so Mario Lopez is he played AC Slater.
Okay.
Lifetime teamed up with KFC and made a mini movie called A Recipe for Seduction. And Mario Lopez plays Colonel Sanders.
Dude, he's so hot.
Like, I mean, look at that. He's like
KFC's been on some weird shit the past couple of years. They made a dating sim game.
Okay,
I played it on stream.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because this little mini movie, A Recipe for Seduction, is it's only about 15 minutes and the whole thing is on YouTube.
Okay.
So if any of you want to watch it, it's available. But I was looking through the comments because the comments were freaking gold. People saying things like it was finger licking good. And one of the comments was related to KFC and The Sims, and I was like, "What? That doesn't even make sense to me." But I'm glad that you actually know what that is.
Yeah, no, they made a dating simulator. It was like styled after like Japanese dating simulators. So like they made like an anime version of Colonel Sanders.
Nice.
I played it. It wasn't bad. It was free to play too. Like they didn't charge for it. It was just purely for marketing. My friend really didn't like it. He would like as a concept. He didn't play it, but yeah, he's like a big like dating simulator player, and he was saying that it like cheapens the medium, and like for people who haven't played a dating simulator, like it just makes the dating simulators look stupid. And I was like, dude, dating simulators are a little bit stupid. There's a few good ones, but
sure,
most of them are pretty stupid.
I can't take credit for the this idea, but I did some thinking, and it's actually very, very possible. Someone commented on that YouTube video that they should have instead done Saved by the Taco Bell.
I like that.
Which it's
a great play on words.
Great play on words. But KFC and Taco Bell are both owned by a company called Yum Brands.
Yeah, they have those like combo stores in some spots.
Yeah, so that makes me think that idea is entirely possible.
Oh, it's totally possible. I mean, if it reached their ears, I wouldn't put it past them to do it.
Well, are you hearing us, Yum Brands and Lifetime? Saved by the Taco Bell. You too, Mario Lopez. Let's get on that.
Do it. You know they did a gaming console too, right?
Who did?
KFC.
KFC did a game console?
Yeah, I don't think it's actually officially like out yet.
Okay.
They teamed up with a company that makes air fryers.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a gaming console that has a little compartment that you can also keep your KFC warm inside of. I like that. I thought about getting one for the meme of it, but it cost $2,000.
Ooh.
So I was like, I don't know about that.
I mean, if it was like
$500, then I'd be willing to do it for that.
That would be awesome.
Which, I mean, the PS5 is $500, so that's what they should have gone for. But no, it's a $2,000 motherfucker. Like, I don't even know how they're gonna get games on it. I know it's just a meme thing, but it's legitimately for sale. So I don't know how that'll work out, but
I know.
my real question is whether or not it has its own heat source or if it uses the heat coming from the computer to keep the chicken warm.
I mean, that would be some next level shit if you've got the game console powering the air fryer.
That makes the most sense to me because if you have like a heat source inside of a computer, like that's a bad idea. That thing's not going to last very long.
Yeah.
Like a pretty big goal of building a computer is ensuring that there's decent ventilation so it doesn't overheat.
Right.
If you install a compartment that traps heat, then that's a little more difficult.
I suppose if you dig deep, I think it actually probably kind of, I don't want to say makes sense to do an air fryer game console, but if you are talking about pulling the heat from the computer, I believe air fryers work by having a fan that circulates air. So
it could theoretically work, but you'd have to be like playing a game at 4K for like half an hour before it would even be warm enough.
I mean,
not that that's hard to do, but
right.
Like
you 24-hour live stream. You just roast a turkey.
This is my 24-hour live stream turkey. You know what would be great too if I just didn't mention it the entire time and randomly throughout the live stream you'd just see me like kind of look down from my webcam. You'd hear like a drawer open up and then you hear it shut and I would never acknowledge it. And at the very end of the live stream, I would just like pull a full fucking rotisserie turkey or whatever out from my desk. And I was like, check it out, guys. I was roasting this the entire live stream.
I love it. Oh, that's great. I mean, obviously you're not going to have one of these air fryer game consoles, but you should try and do something like that for your next 24-hour stream where it's just some sort of ongoing joke that only you know is a joke until it's revealed at the end.
Yeah, well, the problem is it gets difficult to just ignore things that are going on in chat. Like if they caught wind of it and started asking me about it, I could ignore it, but they would catch on to that as well.
Sure.
Last night I was streaming Valheim and boy, my chat was on some weird shit. A couple of guys. Noah, Shupwhoop, and Obama. I have someone who follows me named XX Obama 69XX, which is a great name. But like anytime there's like someone who's not familiar with my streams in the chat and like Obama comes on, be like, hey, what's up, Obama? And the immediate reaction is like, what did he just say?
What?
But yeah. So they started doing some weirdo shit like. One of them would chat something out. The other two would then copy whatever they said and also post it.
Okay.
And then I have a bot in my chat that will occasionally like give a link to my Twitter or give a link to my Discord or my YouTube just every few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So they started copying the messages from the bot.
Oh no.
And all just spamming that. So I had to be like, guys, can we just not do that?
Oh.
Because it was just like it was like if anybody wanted to like actually ask me anything, I wouldn't have known it because like everything was just stuff I wasn't reading.
Oh, Daddy had to put his foot down.
Yeah. Noah and Shupwhoop and Obama 69. I'm sorry I had to get Daddy on y'all, but sometimes that's how it's got to be.
The one last thing about KFC, they're apparently really cool with like their product development. Like their non-KFC restaurant product development. I thought about this when you said the game console. I think this was maybe a year or two ago. They came out with a original recipe scented fireplace log. Like those Duraflame logs.
Yeah, that's not too shocking.
Yeah.
Those, like fried chicken scented.
Yep.
That's not too surprising.
Absolutely.
They do some pretty good marketing memes. The KFC console thing was getting memed on for a couple weeks, so you know it definitely got their logo out there, which is always the goal of that kind of thing. Like they're obviously not making it expecting it to actually sell very well. It's clearly a social media ploy.
Yeah,
that's what all this stuff we talked about pretty much is. Like they know what they're doing.
Mac, you're pretty familiar with the KFC logo, right?
Yeah.
There is if you look at it, so he's wearing, it's really just the head of Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
I fell into this as a kid, and then as an adult, I came to realize, oh, that is not at all accurate.
Is it the little stick figure body thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen people mention that before. It looks like he's a little stick figure.
Yep, his tie makes it look like that's his body.
See, I never saw that as a kid. I only saw it once it was shown to me as a meme.
Yep. No, I saw that as a kid, and it took a long time for me to not think of him as a little tiny man with a giant head.
Similar, but not as funny, the Disney logo for years as a kid, like, and I never questioned it for some reason, but like the D for the Disney, like the way the way that like Disney signs his name, I don't know if that's his actual signature they use for like the logo or whatever, but the way he does the D, he loops it around to the bottom and then doesn't connect it at the top. So
correct. I'm looking at it right now, so I know what you're talking about.
It looks like a backwards G. And
yes, I thought it was a G as a kid too.
Yeah, me too.
Yep,
totally.
absolutely.
And I just never questioned like, oh, it's not pronounced Disney. And only after I made that realization did I like look at it and be like, is it supposed to be a D? And like, oh yeah, there's a D there.
D's nuts.
Got him.
Got him.
All right, do you want to turn to my Discord for some questions?
Absolutely. I love question time.
Question time. Come on, grab your friends.
Grab your friends. Let's answer questions.
Touch their nuts.
You can.
Just for a bit of fun.
Go ahead and try out their pigeon.
We're making a Breakroom Nachos theme song right now.
I think we are.
Microwave asks, what are things that you thought would be cool in adulthood but ended up disappointing you?
I mean, other than myself.
It do be like that. I know this isn't really an answer to the question. To be honest, I couldn't, like, because I saw the message like last night when she posted it, but so I was thinking about it. I honestly can't really think of anything. Like, being an adult kind of rocks. Like, there's so many things I was told as a kid, which were like, now looking back on it, were clearly just like my parents trying to get me to like chill out or like not be so disgruntled, I guess. Like, you know, when I was a kid, like I would complain about having to go to school every day, and my parents would be like, well, when you're an adult, you have to get a job. And I was like, yeah, but at least then I get paid. And they totally were like, that doesn't make it better. And it totally fucking does.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't mind going to work every day as long as it lets me buy pornography on my work's expense or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Going to work every day is so much better than going to school every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, without a doubt.
Yeah. School, at least for me, I was never a fan of school at any level.
No. I mean, and that's, you know, that's also speaking from like my side of it, where again, I spent a lot of like my time working on video stuff and not taking school that seriously. So I didn't exactly struggle in high school, right. But I still would take going to work right now over going to school any fucking day. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't the greatest student in the world, but I mean, I have a bachelor's degree from a university, so clearly I wasn't that
bad
much
at it.
Yeah, I wasn't that much of an idiot.
I'm sure there's something that is disappointing that I'm not thinking of.
I'll keep this one in the back of my head, and at some point we'll probably revisit this, because I feel like I have thought about things like that.
There's got to be something, and I'll say, like, again, this also is not an answer to the question, but like, when I thought about it some more, like I feel like there's certain aspects of my life that now that I'm kind of used to them, I almost take for granted.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, you know, I moved out of my parents' house 3 years ago. I've been living by myself for 2 years, and I don't think about it anymore. But living by myself or living out of my parents' house is so fucking awesome.
Right?
Like, because there's just so many little tiny things. Like, first of all, when I lived with my parents, like I only had like my room to be my space. And even then, like my parents would like come barging in, or like they had all these rules. And like my parents are not particularly strict, but it was just like all these little things that bugged the hell out of me. Like, you know, when I was like 19, I would like go out to Steak and Shake and get a burger at like 3 a.m.
Right.
And then I'd get home and my parents would like find out that I'd left the house at 3 a.m. and they'd be like upset by that. And it's like, I'm 19. I'm an adult. You know, like I don't have work the next morning. I'm not in school right now. Like, what does it matter if I go and get steak and shake at 3 a.m.?
Right.
I understand that you're like house rules are, you know, a curfew or whatever, but you have the freedom to go do this, and you're also an adult.
Right. Yeah. What? Just because you're the child.
Right. And then, like, you know, one time, like having a home that I can return to at any time and know that it's there for me.
Yeah.
In a way, when I was, I want to say 18, I one time stayed over at a girl's house too late.
Okay.
And when I came home,
nice job.
Thank you.
Pound it. we actually did just
we
pound
did
it there.
fist pump. Yeah. But like when I went home, so my parents had like a deadbolt and, you know, a doorknob with like a pin padlock.
Okay.
So I knew the code to the pin padlock, but I didn't have a key to the deadbolt. They had locked the deadbolt, and the garage door opener happened to be busted.
Oh no.
So I tried to call them and tried to text them to let me in, and they just didn't respond. So I was like, well, fuck, I guess I'm locked out of the house. So I ended up going back to the girl I was dating's house and just staying the night there. But this was like,
hell yeah, bro.
I want to say this is like the second date or something like that. Like,
okay.
Like definitely not normal to be staying over at a girl's house at that point. Or like we hadn't really reached that part of the relationship. I was fully prepared to just sleep in my car. It was very nice of her to invite me back over.
Yeah.
But it's like, damn, dude, I got a key to my apartment. I can get in anytime I want. Like,
hell yeah.
That's something I take for granted. I don't have to risk I can lock myself out, but I don't have to risk getting locked out.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought of one, and this is one that you and I kind of touched on at some point when we were talking about being kids. I don't know that I necessarily thought it would be great as an adult, but I told you how over the summer when I was a kid, I would frequently try to see how long I could go without bathing myself.
You did mention that.
And so at least at some point as a kid, I was like, man, when I'm an adult,
I'm never going to bathe.
Yeah. And now as an adult, if I were to do that, it's just gross.
Yeah. Well, shit, dude, our adult bodies create fluids seemingly out of nothing and like grow horrible hairs everywhere. It's wildly unpleasant to not like bathe or shave for more than, you know, your normal amount of time.
Yeah. Although little kids I swear they just secrete sticky.
That's true, but for some reason it doesn't bother them.
No, they're fine. God, they can just run around being dirty, sticky little fleshlings.
Well, I think we've talked about this at some point. Because you remember I had that theory that
yes,
there is a human equilibrium that we have to reach.
Yep.
Where, you know, if you're too far on the side of sticky, you get to be like sticky, you start to stick to things.
Yeah.
But if you're too far on the side of like sweaty, you start to like slide on things and like so like the ultimate human equilibrium is being just sticky enough and just slippery enough that you don't like cause chaos. So I think when you're that age, you probably just are not producing enough slippery.
Right.
So your equilibrium's off. You're stuck in sticky.
Right. You have to hit puberty before
the slippery starts showing up. Yeah, it's just little things like that like as an adult I no longer think about. Or I no longer even consider as like being a good thing. But then when I remember instances like that, where it's like I was an adult at that time, but because I was like living with my parents, like it was less pleasant. And now it's like, oh, I come home to my house where I'm alone. Like the entire house is my space. I can get in anytime or leave at any time.
Yeah.
And I don't have to tell anyone or explain anything.
Right. On the topic of,
I don't have to share it. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
Go ahead.
I also definitely something I take it for granted at this point is that I don't have to share a bathroom with my two brothers anymore.
Oh yeah.
God, that was horrible.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm sure they didn't love it either. You probably.
I don't know if they would have necessarily disliked it.
I can just imagine you plugging up the drain.
Oh, so I was actually about to bring this up.
Okay.
Here's the thing. The drain did get plugged at my house.
Uh-huh.
But I always clean the drain out. Here's where the real problem was. They blamed me for the drain constantly getting plugged, even though I wash my hair like once a month.
Huh.
I don't wash my hair frequently because my hair is not like, normal hair. Like it needs to be in like its natural state for an extended period of time.
Right.
Like for me, like my sticky, slippery equilibrium with my hair, takes place a few days after I've washed my hair, and then it stays that way for a long time.
Yeah.
So, I was getting blamed constantly, and my parents would go along with it. They'd be like, why aren't you pulling your hair out of the drain? And it's like, I haven't washed my hair in 3 weeks. It's them.
I mean, it makes sense on the surface, but if you're not washing your hair, then
it was complete horseshit, but I was getting blamed for it. Like the problem with sharing a bathroom with my two brothers is that I am very clean and organized.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers are not.
Yeah.
And so I was constantly having to like clean up after them or like deal with the mess that they created. It like got to a point where like there was 2 sinks in my bathroom and we all kind of used the same sink, but I got tired of cleaning it. So I switched to the other sink, and like the one sink that they used got filthy and disgusting.
Gross.
And they never did anything about it. And then my side, it was like nice and sparkly, little bit of slippery fucking Parmesan. What's it called?
Slippery Parmesan?
What the fuck is this ceramic thing you
Porcelain?
use? Porcelain, that's it. Like a slippery porcelain, So that was the frustrating thing. Like that's something I definitely take for granted as an adult. Like the fact that the spaces that I use stay clean.
Yeah.
Because when I clean them, no one, neglects that.
Mac, I think you'll appreciate this. Since we were just talking about little kids and being sticky and all sorts of stuff like that. You and I, neither one of us have children.
Nope.
And we both have pets.
Yeah. Which are basically children.
Right. Which lends me to where this is going. Obviously the term fur baby is relatively popular.
Yeah.
I recently heard the inverse of that people like us who only have fur babies should start referring to human children as skin puppies. Oh, look at that little skin puppy you got there.
I've heard fleshlings for years, but I like skin buddies better.
I guess skin buddy works, but
skin
puppy.
Puppy, that's it.
Or a skin kitty.
I like that. That's really good.
Yeah. Oh,
God. Humans are weird.
Yeah.
Like every other animal, you leave them alone. They're born, you leave them alone for a month, they're good to go.
Absolutely.
We take like 18 years to reach adulthood. We've got all these awkward phases, like where we're suddenly going through massive growth spurts and there's disgusting things coming out of our bodies for a while. And horrible hormones. Like, why we really got shafted by the whole like being grown thing.
Yeah.
Every other animal is like a fucking shrinky dink. You just you just leave it alone and it's good to go.
Right.
Humans are like a fucking IKEA furniture. You got to just like slowly put it together.
Yeah.
And like, oh fuck, this part went in the wrong way. I got to like disassemble this. And
oh man, sometimes you have leftover parts. You're like,
sometimes they're missing parts.
Right.
Oh man. What's up with that, God?
Seriously.
I've said for years, if there is a God, why do humans have hiccups? Why would that be a thing? Hiccups are horrible.
But yeah. I can't.
Why would there be an intentional design flaw like that? Like it's a rough one.
Right. Like at least with the sneeze, the intent of that is
to clear out the system.
Correct. You're trying to clear your nose of whatever sort of irritant is in there, but
hiccups, it's just like your fucking diaphragm's going crazy and there's no reason for it.
Right.
Can you imagine if you're like, I don't know, like a spy in a foreign country about to make a major assassination that will like change the world? Imagine you're like an American spy in the 1940s about to assassinate fucking Hitler.
Right.
And then you just get some hiccups coming on and everyone finds out where you are.
Yeah. That's the word. Yeah, you can't
control it.
No.
There's all these like ways to like stop hiccups, but it's like basically proven that they're all like mind over matter. Like it doesn't actually stop hiccups. You just believe it does and then it does.
Right. Yeah. No, hiccups are the worst, actually.
Yeah, I started to think about this more and more because like, you know, you get the odd hiccup here and there, but like there are some days where it's like you get hiccups 3, 4, 5 times. Like you'll get hiccups, they'll stick around for like 20 minutes. You'll go an hour, then you'll get hiccups again, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
I thought I got rid of this.
Right.
And it's so frustrating.
Yeah. At least like a sneeze. Sometimes you can hold them in, or most of the time, but then afterward, you at least feel better. You're like, okay,
this is dealt with.
Yes. Do we have any more questions to answer?
I do have some. I'm wondering which ones to go for. I should probably go for some of the older ones. See, the problem is Microwave keeps posting questions, and they're all good questions, but I feel bad taking all of Microwave's questions.
Oh, but by the way, Microwave, thank you for the comment on the episode 7 video about how you are
not a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're not a horrible person to customer service workers, and we very much thank you for that. The entire world thanks you for that.
Yeah, I mean it really has stood the test. The people who are like that have never worked that kind of job. Everyone should have to work either fast food or retail for 6 months. What do you
Mac, okay.
Mike just like I was in the middle of talking, and Mike's eyes just darted over to my candy bowl and stuck there, and like I'm in the middle of telling a story here.
That's fine. I'm listening. Everyone else is listening.
No. What do you got? What's going on?
Okay, so typically, I guess they're available year round, but you see them more at the holidays. Hershey's puts out the little variety like mini candy bars.
Yeah.
There's usually like a milk chocolate, a special dark, and then you've got Mr. Good Bar and Crackle.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a full-size Crackle bar?
No.
Neither have I. I think I may have seen a Mr. Good Bar at one point.
I don't know if I have. I mean, I have not seen a full-size Crackle, but Crackles are the same as Crunch, so
They are, but they're a different company.
you're right. But I'm just saying, like there is a version that's full-size. Maybe they don't make it full-size because they're like, Crunch has that market.
I mean, they might. I just think it's interesting that like that miniature variety pack always has them, and yet I never see a full-size version.
I personally believe that variety packs of candies, and this is as someone who buys a lot of variety packs of candy because I always get discount candy after holidays because I'm obsessed with candy.
And you love candy.
I love candy.
You love candy.
I'm convinced that like the mixed packs are just excuses for companies to pawn off the candies that people don't like.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Well, aside from this Hershey's one, which is always consistent, but
right. But like, you know, people don't really seek out Mr. Good bars, and like they are good, but they're not that great. So they're mostly found in those mixed packs.
Right.
And then like the big one, I have like a giant bag in my underneath my sink that's got like it's got Nerds, it's got Sweethearts, it's got Laffy Taffy.
Those are all good ones.
But like 50% of the Laffy Taffy are the fucking banana ones.
No!
Like most of them. Most of them are banana ones. And it's like why do they even make it? No one likes the banana Laffy Taffy.
No.
The only person I know who likes the banana Laffy Taffy is Sean. Like no one else likes them. So, you know, they sell a multi-pack, they fill it up with whatever leftover banana Laffy Taffy they've got in the factory, and they ship it out, and it's like, okay, this bag does have 100 pieces in it, but, you know, 15 of them are banana Laffy Taffy that you're going to throw away.
Right, because at this point, I mean, if you've got that many banana Laffy Taffies in this bag, it's pretty much a banana hammock.
Nice. I like that.
Thanks.
So I that's what I think. That's my theory. The mixed pack candy was devised as a way to get rid of the candy that people don't buy.
Yeah, and there's in that same theory there is I can't remember who makes it. I want to say it's called like Wacky Mack.
I haven't heard of that.
It's basically macaroni and cheese, but it's just a mix of shapes.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty sure all they did was just take the leftover scraps.
The ones that didn't turn out right.
Yeah, they like didn't turn out right, or like you get to the end of the line and like you can't fill up another full box with whatever you've produced. So you take that like 3/4 of a box and just throw it into a pile and mix it together and be like, look, kids, it's fun.
It's Wacky Mac.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Noah asks if we've ever had any Karen run-ins, which we definitely have.
Absolutely. This wasn't necessarily a run-in with Karen, but it was very recent, and I posted a photo of it up on our
That's right, you did.
up on our
Twitter.
Twitter and maybe our Instagram too. But yeah, it was just, some lady had her shopping cart turned sideways in the middle of the aisle and walked like 2 aisles away, so nobody could pass through. Not the greatest Karen example, but that happened recently. And
see, the problem is like, and I'm just gonna put this out there for anybody who has maybe ever been a dick to retail workers. Like, it's kind of hard for me to even think of like specific examples because the good customers stick out of my mind so much more than the assholes.
Right, because the good ones are so few and far between. Right. Oh, remember our girl Stephanie?
There was a customer. She was a cute girl. She came in a lot, and we really liked her.
She was incredibly nice.
She was a very, very nice woman. It wasn't just that she was cute.
Correct.
But that definitely was like part of us getting excited. Like, Stephanie's here.
Yes.
But I was going to bring up, remember that time we got tipped in pizza?
Yes. What was...
I think it was me and Tommy. I don't think like you participated in it, but you definitely reaped the benefits.
Yeah, I definitely remember that.
So our old boss, Tom, and I like loaded up a couch for a lady, and she told us, she was like, there were customers from time to time who would offer us tips for like loading furniture.
Yeah.
And we weren't supposed to take them, and for the first few years I didn't, but eventually it was like, this store we work at really doesn't monitor this.
Yeah, at some point I just started taking it, and not worrying about it.
If people are gonna like be nice like this, like sure, I'll take their goodwill. Like it feels bad to like refuse it because then they like have to like they like try to force it on you, and you got to be like, well, I can't take it.
Right. Like. And then they might like try and like stick it in your pocket, and then that's just really weird because then you've got a stranger putting their hand in your pocket.
Right. It's just easier to just take it.
Yeah.
And also monetarily profitable.
Yes.
But so like we loaded up this couch for this lady, and she told us, she was like, I know you guys can't take tips, but I am she was like a person who worked at the head office of Cottage Inn, who we've talked about before.
Yeah. They make that pulled pork pizza. Yeah.
So she was like, so I'm going to call them and have them make you guys a couple of pizzas. What do you want? And so like, 30 minutes after she left, one of the guys we knew from Cottage Inn came by, dropped off a couple large pizzas for us. And it was like, this is fucking awesome.
Nice.
This was like 2 seconds of work for me. I load up couches all the time and I got free pizza out of it.
Nice.
It was like, that was awesome.
Do you remember, was it the fake Eric Andre that brought it over to you?
I can't remember who it was. But definitely like there's a lot of examples. Like there's a few like specific examples of women who definitely, or not women, customers. Customers who definitely exuded Karen energy. I said women specifically because of the name Karen, not because I'm misogynist.
Okay.
But definitely like lots of customers who like one thing that I ran into a lot, and this bugged the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many examples of people who like wanted to make returns. Who wanted to exchange something, and like you make the return, and for whatever reason the amount ends up being off. Like the one that I saw the most frequently was like they bought something in a different state where the sales tax was a different cost, and then when you would return it through our system, it would calculate the sales tax that they would be getting returned based on the Michigan sales tax. So it would give back a different amount of sales tax.
I think I remember this example you're talking about, but go ahead.
Right. And there was so many times throughout the years where like people would be like, would like want you to fix that. And we're talking cents on the dollar. If it's a bigger a purchase, like a piece of furniture, it's like maybe a couple bucks. Like it's not an amount to be worth worrying over.
Yeah.
But so many times people would just be like, oh, are you going to fix it? And it's like, do you really want me to go through the effort of fixing this for you? Just lose the 30 cents and call it a day.
Yeah.
But of course I would have to fix it.
Right.
And it was just really annoying.
Absolutely. Part of that too was that some of that was on our company though. Our technology was so bad.
Oh my God. I mean, our registers were literally older than I am.
I mean, we should have really, you just needed to be able to like scan a barcode on a receipt and have it pull up everything at the proper sales tax. And that would have really just solved.
How hard would that have been to just be like, oh, this is the total based on like whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that kind of thing is really frustrating. It's like, guys, if you're losing a couple cents on a return, just take the L. You know, don't inconvenience someone else so you can get 2 cents back.
Well,
which literally, that's not hyperbole. It would come down to like 2 cents sometimes, and they would want it back.
Yeah.
And so I would just take 2 pennies out of my pocket full of pennies that we talked about on previous, and I would just give it to them because it's like, this isn't worth me taking 2 cents out of the system so that our registers balance out at the end of the night.
Yeah. I've got a story related to the pennies in your pocket.
Okay.
So you've said before you used to collect pennies, put them in your pocket, you'd throw them places, you'd
throw them at people.
Exactly.
Play with them when I was bored.
For those of you who don't live in Michigan or the US, Michigan has a deposit on
bottles.
Yeah, on some of our empty like pop soda bottles, beer bottles, carbonated beverages.
Pretty much just carbonated beverages.
Yeah.
Like any carbonated beverage.
And in Michigan, it's 10 cents, which is, I mean, not a significant amount of money, but I mean, 10 of them is $1. That's not really hard to do.
Right. So if you buy a 12-pack, it ends up coming out to $1.20 extra onto the cost.
Yeah. So you return your empty, you get that money back. Well, one day on his lunch, Mack had bought something to drink and he was done with it. And I think he just handed it to me and said like, hey, will you put this like behind the counter with the rest of the return bottles? And I was like, well, don't you want me to get you your 10 cents for it? And you're like, nah, I don't want it.
Because we had to do like a transaction on the register to do a bottle return, and I didn't want to make you do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I appreciated that. But then I spun it to you by saying, I can give it to you in 10 pennies. And you were like, oh, hell yeah.
I did that a few times whenever my supply was running low. I'd return a bottle and just take it all in pennies.
Hell yeah.
Just give me those fucking dimes. They're smaller than pennies. They're worth less.
In theory, sure. Great times.
Good times. I don't know. Yeah, definitely. Like, just a big FYI. There seems to be like this thought that and unfortunately it does end up working a lot, but there seems to be this thought that if people are dicks to retail workers, like they'll get what they want.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is accurate because, we can't take like a bad customer review or else the company gets mad at us. Like they'll send us an email, ask for an explanation, all this paperwork bullshit. So, if you're a dick to retail employees, you a lot of times you will end up getting what you want. But if you're really nice to retail employees, we are so much more willing to go like the extra mile for you. So much more willing. And you know what? I'll actually bring up Steph. Our
nice
Stephanie, the girl we mentioned before, who we liked a lot because she was super nice and cute.
Yeah,
she needed to get like a certain pillow, and like it wasn't one that I can't remember what the situation was. I had to call our online support services for some reason. And
yes, I remember when this happened.
They are always such a pain in the ass to deal with. They don't seem to know what's going on with the actual company. Half the time they'll loop things back to you. They suck. They suck.
Yeah.
But I sat on the phone for like, I want to say it was an hour, possibly 2 full hours on the phone to get this thing done for her because she was a customer that I liked.
Yeah.
I would not have done that for a dick customer. I would have been like, yeah, nothing I can do about that.
Yep. So in that instance, yes, being a nice person actually got her somewhere as opposed to like that dickhead customer who just is a dick and thinks that they're going to get their own way that way.
It's just like that's and certainly there are going to be those bad eggs in retail who just don't want to do the work. But I think, for the vast majority of retail workers who just legitimately want to, get it figured out, if you're nice to them and if you're nice and understanding, they are so much more willing to go the extra mile. It is so much easier of a thought to be like, oh, I'm willing to do this extra thing because this person will be appreciative of it.
Absolutely. speaking of having to like give in to angry customers so that we don't have like some sort of explanation to corporate. Do you remember that time that when we had that real dickhead of a district manager, Steve?
Yeah.
Remember how he like gave us shit because we got a 3-star Yelp review?
And the thing we were going to get 3-star review on was so minute and stupid.
So stupid.
Anybody reading it could have been like, oh, this person's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Here, and I remember it specifically.
Yeah.
The customer complained because they were struggling to get a coupon up on their phone and the employee didn't offer help. And that dropped their experience by 2 stars, even though they did figure it out and get their coupon.
Yep.
And he asked for an explanation for it.
Right.
And it's like, someone just didn't do this. It was a mistake. It's a 3-star review. It's not the end of the world.
Right. It's 3. That's
average.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It's so fucking stupid.
Oh God.
If you're the kind of person who would leave a Yelp review like that over something that small, like you're an idiot.
I do really like looking at Yelp reviews to see the absurd things that people complain about.
People are on some stupid shit quite a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like we're really doing a community service with this podcast.
I would agree.
By reminding people not to be dicks on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I feel like our experience with retail is really coming in strong to help us make people better.
Yeah. In general, just don't be a dick.
If you're a younger person, you're maybe in high school or you're maybe in college and you've got some extra spare time, but you don't necessarily need a job, go get a retail job, work it for 6 months. You will come out a better person.
Absolutely.
Or food service, some kind of service job where you have to deal with people like that.
Yep.
Because then you will know how not to be and you will understand the struggles of the workers.
The struggle is real.
Because I would say a solid 75 to 80% of problems that customers had that they blamed us for were in no way in our control or our fault.
Correct.
It was almost always weird company stuff that we had no control over.
Yep. Or the customer was
caused themselves.
Yeah, was genuinely wrong or at fault and just blamed us for everything.
The customer is not always right. The customer is always right, except for when they're wrong.
Correct.
And you as the customer need to be the one to admit fault because the employee cannot.
Yeah, just own up to it.
Just be like, I screwed this up. Can you help me out? That's so much more likely to get you help than being a dick.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Anyway, any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
All right. Mike doesn't love any of you, but I love you, and I want to thank you for listening to the episode 8 of the podcast.
The latest
episode of the podcast. We need something like funny to end this on.
Yeah.
I have a gun in my desk where I could go get it and you could shoot me, and that could be like the last thing people hear. Do you think that would be good?
I mean, but yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'll go get the gun. I'll be right back.
Yep. Got it. Cocked, locked, and ready to rock.
Okay, so Mike, what you're gonna do is you're gonna throw that chapstick at me, and I'll add a gunshot sound, and that's where we'll end the podcast.
Nice.
Sick.